Welcome back to Daily AI News at Let's Data Science. It's 19th August 2026. Today, we're diving into some pivotal developments from the future of machine intelligence to major product launches. Let's get to it. Our top story today: CISA is warning organizations about an actively exploited vulnerability in Ray, the distributed computing framework widely used in AI infrastructure. CISA added CVE 2025 62593 to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog on August 17th, with an August 20th remediation date under BOD 2604 guidance. Ray versions before 2.52.0 are affected, and that version contains the fix. The unusual attack path is especially relevant for developers. A malicious website can use DNS rebinding to reach a locally running Ray dashboard and submit commands leading to remote code execution. Ray's previous browser protection checked whether the user agent began with Mozilla, but the project advisory says Firefox and Safari can change that header under the fetch specification. That means even a Ray service never intended for public access can potentially be reached through a malicious browser context. Teams should inventory more than production clusters. Developer laptops, notebooks, continuous integration workers, experiment hosts, and shared compute systems may all run Ray. Upgrade affected installations, restrict dashboard access, and inspect hosts for unexpected job submission or command execution. CISA has not identified the actor or campaign behind the exploitation. From securing AI compute to building more of it, inference chip startup Etched has raised $700 million at a $21 billion valuation in a round led by Jane Street. Etched also says it delivered its first customer rack to Jane Street last month, and the quantitative trading firm is actively deploying the system in its data center. That makes Jane Street both the lead investor and Etched's first disclosed customer. The financing comes just 26 days after a $300 million round that valued Etched at $10.3 billion. Etched says it has secured more than $1 billion in customer contracts across frontier AI companies and cloud providers. Its architecture centers on low-voltage inference and cluster-scale memory. Etched claims the first technology increases compute density within a power envelope, while the second creates shared memory across a cluster. The systems are also described as supporting mixture of experts models, including DeepSeek and Qwen, plus non-transformer architectures such as Mamba. But public, independently reproducible workload benchmarks remain absent. For infrastructure buyers, Jane Street's deployment is a meaningful production milestone, while comparisons will still require data on tokens per second, time to first token, memory behavior, precision, model compatibility, rack power, and software maturity. Etched says the new capital will support factories, supply chains, and fleet software. That infrastructure race is being matched by tighter controls on what frontier systems can do. OpenAI says its largest planned frontier reinforcement learning run remains on hold while it strengthens safety and security controls, following a 2-week pause in deployment-focused reinforcement learning work. A significant number of Astra and cyber-related research workloads also remain paused unless they meet the stronger security standard. OpenAI says preliminary evaluations showed major advances in Astra's agentic coding and cybersecurity performance, and that it cannot yet rule out Astra reaching the critical cyber level in its preparedness framework. That is a preliminary classification, not confirmation that the threshold has been crossed. OpenAI defines that level to include capabilities such as autonomously developing functional zero-day exploits across many hardened systems or carrying out novel end-to-end attacks against hardened targets from a high-level goal. The company is using isolated environments, restricted network and tool access, stronger model weight protection, monitoring, and sandboxed execution. It also applies monitoring to agentic Astra training and evaluation, including examination of chain-of-thought signals. One important distinction: Astra did not cause the July Hugging Face breach. Reporting cited in the source material says that incident involved another unreleased OpenAI model. The Astra pause is therefore an operational security gate around an unreleased system, not evidence that Astra carried out the earlier intrusion. From controlling model capabilities to tracing where model outputs come from, researchers at MIT's Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory have published a peer-reviewed study on diffusion model attribution. Zheng Dai and David Gifford found that as image training sets grow, generated outputs can become less causally attributable to any single training image, person, or artist. Their Nature Communications study uses a diffusion ensemble architecture whose components train on different subsets of data. By disabling every component exposed to a selected training unit, the researchers create a counterfactual output without retraining the entire system. They measure the largest resulting change as the counterfactual radius. Across 24 ensembles trained on datasets ranging from 256 to 162,770 images, that radius generally declined as dataset size increased, including under pixel and semantic distance measures. In one discretized MNIST experiment, 14 of 3,731 generated samples had a counterfactual radius of 0. But the conclusion has important boundaries. The study does not show that training data are irrelevant, eliminate the possibility of memorization, or establish the same effect for large language models. For practitioners, the result suggests that nearest neighbor image similarity alone should not be treated as proof of causal training data influence. Controlled counterfactual evaluation and strong provenance records remain important. Turning from attribution to enforceable agent boundaries, Google has published an open-source zero-trust reference design for its agent development kit. A demo shows a malicious prompt trying to turn a $149 order into a $10,000 refund. Google's controls sit outside the model: cryptographically signed writes, gvisor isolated Python execution, and deterministic input and output checks. The core design principle is that prompts provide behavioral guidance, while permissions and transaction limits need independent enforcement. That same separation of capability and control is also shaping OpenAI's training infrastructure. OpenAI paused reinforcement learning work on deployment-bound models for 2 weeks and is keeping its largest planned frontier run on hold. Reported changes include stronger sandboxing, network isolation, and expanded multi-stage chain-of-thought monitoring. The original report says these controls add 20% overhead for some workloads, although OpenAI's available post does not provide a matching cost breakdown or specify which workloads produce that figure. Beyond technical safeguards, training data provenance is again headed to court. Roundhill Music and 5 affiliates filed separate copyright suits against Anthropic and Suno in the Northern District of California, with 500 compositions listed in each complaint. The Suno case also names Bright Data and its United States subsidiary. Roundhill seeks up to $150,000 per willfully infringed work and says the asserted catalog could expand to 10,000 or more works. These remain allegations, not court findings. From data provenance to enterprise data access, Mistral is retiring its indexed Google Drive and Microsoft SharePoint knowledge connectors in VibeWork at the end of August. Customers are being directed to MCP connectors instead. Administrators must add the replacements, and individual users must reconnect their accounts. Mistral's public material does not fully specify the replacement retrieval architecture or a precise deletion timetable for legacy indexes, so teams should verify permissions, search behavior, data residency, and deletion status during migration. For teams turning those access rules into code, Google's Common Expression Language team has released a formal verification framework powered by the Z3 theorem prover. It checks satisfiability, validity, logical equivalence, and policy invariance, returning concrete counterexamples when rules fail. The CEL Java project includes command line and interactive tools suitable for continuous integration. Bounded comprehensions and solver limits can still produce inconclusive results, so those outcomes should remain distinct from verified passes. And finally, Databricks says Stanford won its Grounded Reasoning Cup with 63.3% accuracy on Office QA Pro Vide 2, a held-out benchmark built from roughly 120,000 pages of United States Treasury documents. The average team scored about 41%. Databricks also found a 30.4 percentage point average spread between the highest and lowest scoring teams using the same model family, highlighting how retrieval, document parsing, tool use, verification, and latency engineering can materially change agent performance. And that's your AI briefing for today. The landscape is moving faster than ever, and we'll be here to track it with you. For more insights, visit us at letsdatascience.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, and we'll be back tomorrow with the latest in AI.